End of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. We're going to jump on the Sharp Interactive board. I want to discuss the DCA Wars that are going on out there. We got Valsoft that owns MPS Monitor. We got TD SYNNEX that owns EKM. We got distributors in the middle of all this. I'm seeing posts online, a lot of confusion. I want to share my thoughts. But before I do that, I do want to address this. About a month ago, my friends over at NEXERA were bought. And the company that bought them was Valsoft, private equity out of Canada. And they put NEXERA underneath the leadership of the people that were running MPS Monitor. And MPS Monitor is a DCA tool company that Valsoft bought in September of 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, when Valsoft bought MPS Monitor back in 2022, I was pretty critical of that acquisition as well. Did a couple episodes on it. At the end of the day, I'm not a fan of these small DCA tool companies trying to come into the marketplace. They've been in the marketplace, some of them for 20 years. They've got 1-2 million devices on their platforms, and they're trying to convince all the dealers to leave the big giant gorilla in the room, which would be ECIE Automate. And we all know that ECIE Automate has over 10 million devices on their platform. They're not going anywhere. And my concern is that all the folks that move into these other DCA technologies are going to end up going back to ECIE Automate, just like we witnessed with Forza. Remember that fiasco? The ERP that was going to change the world and all the nonsense. I've been talking about that for a long, long time. People give me crap sometimes because I talk about it, but it's a reality. Dealers spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of hours. And what happened? They all went back to eAutomate for the most part. The Forza platform has less than 5 or 6 dealers on it. I've been saying that for over a year. There's never been any challenges to what I'm saying. So obviously, that's where we're at. And I believe the same thing is going to happen to all these people that are jumping on these DCA tool technologies, because these DCA tool technologies are showing up in the marketplace with a lot of confusing press releases. And when things get really confusing, guess what? Well, there's probably problems coming, is my thinking. So without any further ado, let's get into these DCA wars. So we got TD SYNNEX, which is delivering the EKM product here in Americas, along with a company called Predictive Insights. Predictive Insights has been distributing the EKM DCA tool in Americas for 36 months. Wait till you see the math on what they've accomplished in 36 months. Ed McLaughlin, I've known you. We're friends, but I got to tell you something. I am going to call bullshit on your numbers in today's episode, so get ready. Over here we got Valsoft, MPS Monitor. They have an exclusivity with a company called Oberon America. And the exclusivity was that Oberon America would be the only distributor of MPS Monitor here in Americas. But then I see on social media where Predictive Insights is now partnering with MPS Monitor. And I'm thinking to myself, well, did they take away the exclusivity from Oberon America? Well, then I went to Oberon America's website, and they still talk about having exclusivity. Is EKM going to allow Predictive Insights to also have a partnership with MPS Monitor, their fierce competitor? And then I started thinking to myself, well, maybe EKM is going to get sold. Maybe Tech Data said, you know what, this thing ain't panning out. You know, the internet of wonderful, all the things these things are going to do, blah, 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 with all the guys. Remember that? You ever listen to these people talk about these softwares? They're going to do all these wonderful, wonderful, wonderful things. Maybe TD SYNNEX is saying, when's all this wonderful stuff going to happen? It hadn't happened, so let's go ahead and sell this thing. And maybe they're going to sell it to Valsoft. Maybe Valsoft's going to end up owning EKM too. So maybe EKM doesn't really care if Predictive Insights is in a partnership with MPS Monitor. Ladies and gentlemen, because there's so much confusion, why don't you just stay with the one you're at? Why don't you just stay with ECIE Automate until they figure all this shit out? Because I'm telling you right now, this is real confusing. Oberon America, you know, Dennis has been running around for a long time talking about how he's got the exclusivity for Americas. It's him. And now I guess he's going to share it with Ed. Is Ed going to take over his accounts? Yeah, a lot of questions, right? I put together some questions and some comments. I'm going to read these, and then we're going to get into today's episode a little bit more. Just pay attention to what I'm reading to you, ladies and gentlemen, because some of this stuff might scare the hell out of you. All dealers, start out, I'm asking the question, are dealers really paying attention to these DCA tool companies? I don't think they are. I think they're paying attention to the hype. Are dealers setting themselves to have the same issues that dealers who migrated to Forza had? It turned out disastrous for many, and they had to all migrate back to eAutomate. Is Predictive Insights aligning to sell their business to Valsoft? That's a question we ought to be thinking about. Is Oberon America no longer the exclusive MPS Monitor reseller in Americas? Is the EKM relationship with TD SYNNEX causing EKM resellers to align with other DCA technologies? That could be what's going on. Will EKM TD SYNNEX terminate the contract with Predictive Insights? If they terminate the contract with Predictive Insights, what does that do for the dealers that migrated over to EKM? Will the NEXERA customers simply be pawns in providing MPS Monitor valuable data in order for MPS Monitor to sell DCA technologies? Why would OEMs currently using NEXERA provide all their service and volume data to MPS Monitor, a DCA tool company? What's a DCA tool company going to do with all the data that all the dealer friends of mine are giving them, all the OEM friends of mine are giving them through the NEXERA platform? Folks, you better start thinking about it. Should dealers expect the NEXERA platform to be free, since the data they are giving MPS Monitor is obviously of great value? I'm thinking the only reason they bought NEXERA is so they could go out and tell the whole world now they got 5 million devices on their platform. Even though the 5 million devices won't be on their platform, they're on the NEXERA platform, and NEXERA is not a DCA tool. Or they intend to make it one? Ladies and gentlemen, you see what I'm talking about. A lot of nonsensical confusion. All mega dealers currently using NEXERA, are you comfortable that your data is now in the hands of MPS Monitor? I want you to think about this. You're a big giant mega dealer, you're a NEXERA customer. You're using the eAutomate DCA tool technology, and now you're going to get a salesman show up that works for MPS Monitor. And they're going to show up in your office, and they know everything about your entire business. They know all of your printers, all of your volumes, all your service costs. They know everything before you even talk to them, because they're getting all the data through the NEXERA platform. You've lost all your negotiating power. What are they going to do? Come in and tell you, hey, you need to go on our DCA tool? I had to pause because I want you to think about it. You signed up with NEXERA because NEXERA was going to help you improve your service ability to your customers, and along with that improvement, you would improve your profits. You didn't sign up with NEXERA to be a lead generator for a DCA tool company, did you? And folks, I'm telling you, all you got to do is read what's going on out there in the social media world, and you'll be convinced that I'm right. You're just a lead generator for the MPS Monitor DCA tool. Back in 2022, September, when Valsoft bought NEXERA, I just want to read a number here real quick because I want to share some math that Ed put out there, and this number helps validate why I think Ed's math is total crap. So it says here that MPS Monitor was in business for 12 years when Valsoft bought them. And at that time, they had 1,300,000 printing devices, and 37 billion pages were being monitored. So just think about that. They were in business for 12 years. They had 1,300,000 devices. I did some math on that, and I don't want you to pay attention to the math that's on the board. I want you to pay attention to the fact that MPS Monitor, when they sold to Valsoft, said in their own press release that they had 1,300,000 printing devices. Now I want to go to this page, and this page is where I see the LinkedIn post that was put out there by Predictive Insights, and they were talking about how they proudly announced a partnership with MPS Monitor. And when you click on the link, it goes to Predictive Insights' website, and here's an article, and in the article it says, MPS Monitor, a worldwide leader in development of software and managed print service, provides a complete SaaS platform for remotely monitoring and managing printers. Thousands of dealers in more than 60 countries use MPS Monitor to manage their fleet of more than 1 million printing devices. So on this page, it says they got 1 million devices. So since September of 2022, they lost 300,000 devices. Now I'm trying to figure out, I think I know, why they're signing up an agreement with Predictive Insight. Because they lost 300,000 devices since Valsoft bought them. Folks, I'm sure it's a mistake. They probably have 1,300,000 devices. But that's why it's important when you put numbers all over the place that the numbers are accurate. Because maybe not a lot of people read the numbers, but I sure as hell do. It just makes me ask more questions. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask a lot of questions. So I see this post is put out there by Ed McLaughlin. And folks, he was excited. He did a little video. Let me just read this. Sean and I started Predictive Insight in June of 2020 with 5 beta customers and an idea that account information that leads to account knowledge was something that would benefit our industry, particularly in a mature market where process improvement was becoming more critical. Thank you for all the resounding vote of confidence. We want to thank our industry for its incredible acceptance. We now serve over 1,000 dealers with over 1 million printers in the queue. I gotta say, Ed, bullshit, because I did the math. I can't even comprehend it, so I had to do the math. 36 months. 1,000 dealers over 36 months is 28 dealers a month. We only work 20 days a month. That's 1.4 dealers a day. And then you have to put 1,000 devices on the software. So you're telling me that over the last 3 years, through COVID and everything, you signed up 1,000 dealers, 1.4 a day, and you onboarded 1,000 printers every day, every single workday. If you would have said we signed up a couple of dealers and those couple of dealers had 500,000 devices each, I could understand that. It took you 36 months to get it all done. But I find it just amazing that Ed McLaughlin and the Predictive Insight, Sean and Ed, have got to be the best DCA salespeople in the world. And maybe that's why MPS Monitor wanted them to work with them. Because over the last year, they actually lost 300,000 devices according to their own writings. And Ed, over the last 3 years, got 1 million devices. And it took MPS Monitor 12 years to get to 1.3 million. Ladies and gentlemen, this is disturbing in its own right. I'm not saying Ed's making any of this up. I'm just saying I find it hard to believe that there's 1,000 dealers that put 1 million devices on the Predictive Insight platform. If that's the case, that's fantastic for you, Ed, and that means you are, in fact, the best DCA salesman in the entire world. Because you trumped. EKM has nowhere near that. When they did the press release, when TD SYNNEX bought them, when they show you what's on their website today, they're nowhere close. So you are completely knocking it out of the park in only 36 months. This is the Obrien website. Folks, you can look all this stuff up. It's all out there. I went to their website, and it says that MPS Monitor is their partner, right? They don't have any other DCA tool company up there. It says that they have the exclusivity in the Americas. Well, do they have the exclusivity in the Americas? If you're currently with Oberon America, are you going to get switched over to Predictive Insights? I mean, I'm just asking the question because it doesn't make sense, right? This was a post that was put out there by Dennis, the CEO of Oberon America. He was welcoming the NEXERA team. Welcome, welcome, NEXERA, part of the MPS Monitor platform. We can't wait to meet with you and put you on our DCA tool. So now I guess you got Ed McLaughlin with EKM that's going to meet with all the NEXERA dealers. You got Dennis who's going to meet with all the NEXERA dealers. And we want to try to sell them a DCA tool. You know what I haven't seen in any of the press releases since NEXERA sold to Valsoft and got put underneath the MPS Monitor flag? I haven't seen any press releases on how NEXERA is going to go into the marketplace and help the dealers service equipment better, make more profit on it, enhance their disciplines and practices. All the talk has been about the DCA technology. So if you think that I'm being a little bit maybe sarcastic, if you think that maybe I'm a little bit crazy, I would ask you all this. It seems to me that MPS Monitor, Oberon Americas, and EKM are all talking about DCA technologies. Thanks, NEXERA. My last slide is the EKM website. You could go there. The EKM website, I couldn't find how many devices they had, but they say they're doing 70 billion pages a year. It took them 22 years in business to get to that. Well, if they're doing 70 billion pages a year, if you go on the MPS Monitor website, it says they're doing about 36 million pages a year, and they have 1,300,000 devices. Of course, somewhere else it says they only have 1 million devices. So you could assume that EKM probably has about 2 million devices. But they've been in business for 20 years. Again, Ed McLaughlin and Predictive Insights, you guys are phenomenal. 1,000 dealers and 1 million devices in 36 months. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to stay on top of this. I'm going to continue to read all these press releases. But I got to tell you all something. Before you migrate off of one platform to the other, think this through. Think through it long term. Is the company you're getting in bed with just going to sell to somebody else? Are you going to have to switch back again? Because our industry went through this. We went through it with the Forza product. That should have been a lesson for everybody. And everybody watching me knows this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.